Forrest in Bend, Oregon writes to me, Paul, I love your videos. Well, thank you, sir. A sincere and hearty thank you. Much appreciated. I've been obsessed with sound for over 40 years. Make it 50 for me, and we're pretty close. And after living in many, many houses and trying to balance the needs of great sound with the reality of trying to make a house livable, I've been wondering, in a perfect world, if you could design the ideal listening room, what would it look like? What dimensions and shape are optimal for creating the best soundstage possible? I imagine a perfect cube is not ideal, but what is? Angled ceilings, non-parallel walls, heck, a dome? I assume things like standing waves, etc. are always going to be present, but is it possible to design a room that makes them disappear? If not, will even the best room diffusers and other tricks to get as close to perfect as possible ever work? Well, I would say this room is about as close to perfect as you're going to get. And it is a simple rectangle. 10-foot tall ceilings, 18 feet wide, 33 feet long, no angled walls, minimal, I don't know if minimal, is that fair? Most people wouldn't have this stuff in their home. I wouldn't think, unless you have a dedicated room. Now, this is a beautiful listening room for a dedicated room. So let's be clear. This is, in fact, a dedicated listening room. We call it the listening lab, and we've been through this before. So aside from the simple stuff that we've done, we've gotten a nice ceiling. These are just drop-in. There's a frame, from an acoustic ceiling frame, and these are drop-in. They look substantial, these ceiling tiles, but they're very thin. There's nothing, they look thick, but they're not. I mean, they're quarter-inch thick, and they work amazingly well. You can buy them online. They use these in offices. That's what we did. We just bought them online. Now, this wasn't cheap. I think we were $3,500 into all these acoustic tiles, but they work great. These are custom-made diffusers. These are not cheap. These are expensive, so don't underestimate that. And the rest of it, setup. If you have a decent room, setup makes all the difference in the world. We talked about this in yesterday's video. I really think setup is totally underappreciated. People go, yeah, I know, I'll set it up. But honestly, setup makes a huge difference. And brute force, okay? Brute force can be important. Even in a room like this, you can't get away from standing waves. You are going to have standing waves. I don't care if you have a dome. It's just the nature of sound bunches up unless you're in a big auditorium, and then it sounds like you're in a big auditorium. I mean, you could be outside and it would sound like you're outside. No standing waves outside. So as long as you're inside, you will have stuff like that. But that's okay. And by brute force, I mean subwoofers. Subwoofers can be placed in a number of different ways. When we go upstairs and I show you the new Octave Studios, you will find 2 giant subwoofers that we use for brute force, because you can't beat the laws of physics, you can't break them, but you can massage them, and that's kind of what we do. So yeah, I would have to say, after all the 50 years of listening rooms that I've had, this is the first one I would say is perfect, and I wouldn't change a thing. And I think we got really lucky. So, hey, what is it? Sometimes a blind squirrel finds a nut. Well, here you go. We did it. All right, thanks.